And, one of the places I had to put a needle was in his perineum. Well, I didn't have to. I wanted to. I said, hey, can I put a needle in your perineum?
I mean, I didn't have to. I could just put it in his arm, but what fun would that be?
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Are you looking to start a podcast? Want to use audio as a marketing tool for your small business? Enjoy free credits when you use my promo code BILLY at Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn, Libsyn.com, or click the link in the show notes. Dogecoin to the moon? Ready to buy the dip? Start investing in cryptocurrency today with Coinbase, and you can get $10 worth of Bitcoin for free after signing up at manwhorepod.com/crypto. Come on, how much longer is this fiat thing gonna last? Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Jingle my bells and deck my halls hard. This is Billy Procida, and you are listening to the Man Whore Podcast. Hey, coming to you from the great state of New Jersey, where I am trying to comfortably masturbate in my childhood bedroom. Hello! Thanks for showing up, everyone. Also trying to duck all my mom's sexual innuendos like the Matrix, and it is not working. She is getting very comfortable with herself, and it's like good for her, and I gotta get over it, I guess. She's her own woman, I suppose. But also still my mom, but it's fine. Ties in actually quite a bit with my conversation this week with author Christine DeLozier. She's got a new book out called Diet for Great Sex. But this episode is not just about how to optimize your sex life with a better diet. We're also talking about family of origin. We're talking about how to talk to your kids about sex. We're talking about acupuncture. We got a jam-packed episode for y'all coming up in just a bit. But first, yikes, you know it's getting bad when they start canceling the orgies again. It's about to be a weird winter. Get your glory holes ready again. We might have to resort back to such things. You don't want to have to do a glory hole. You want to choose to hang a glory hole. You don't want to have to be doing that as a public health measure. Kind of takes some of the fun out of it, but This is where we're at, everyone. This is what's going down. We're picking Tinder matches to meet up with based off of like how social they are. So you pick the more shy and meek and awkward Tinder match because you're like, yeah, she's probably not seeing a lot of people. Old are the days where you slut-shamed in your head and you judged who you should fuck based off of how many people you perceive that they fuck. No. Now we choose our casual sex partners based off of like how popular and social they are. How many birthday parties do they get invited to? Because if that's the metric, then I am a very safe bet. What's up, everybody? Hey. Oh, my. But wherever you are, I hope you are feeling safe. I hope you are feeling boosted. I hope you are surrounded by at least one or two people who love and care about you. It's about to be a very confusing and scary time, so just please try to make good decisions. I don't even know what a good decision is anymore. Another great decision you can make is supporting the Man Whore Podcast and the work that I do on Patreon. None of this works if I'm not sponsored by Fan Whore Nation, and you can be part of that for as little as $2. And I'm running a very special promo right now. If you join up with an annual membership by the end of the year, even at the $2, $5 level, you can get a 2-week free trial in the Peep Show, which is another community we have. It's a it's a group chat that's been running for like 5 years where we just share nudes, gifts, and compliments all day and every day. It's a beautiful space. The Peep Show, it's available to all my $10 and up fan whores. But again, if you get an annual membership at the $2 or $5 tiers, I'll give you a 2-week free trial in the Peep Show. So before we get to my conversation with Christine DeLozier, let's just do a quick fan whore appreciation moment. Right now, I want to give a shout out to Mark Soskow and Bren Crow, a couple fan whores who showed up for one day of patronage. Because, hey, sometimes Patreon is kind of a tip jar. Though, if you want to just give me a tip and you don't want to like become a member, I got my Venmo and Cash App in the show notes. They don't charge a fee or anything. And the whole taxable income situation of that is like, questionable and shaky. But hey, we love when you join the Patreon, whether it's for a day, a month, a year, or more. And you can become a member today and enjoy a slew of great rewards and maybe even test out the Peep Show when you join up at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And now for this week's guest, Christine DeLozier. Sometimes when you have on like a expert type of guest, they wrote a book on a very specific topic, or they're kind of a researcher. They can sometimes be a tough interview because they don't always really want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about themselves just enough that they can talk about the book. They shy away from their personal sex lives or their family of origin, whatever. But oh, thank God, Christine was none of that. Christine was a fucking hoot. And it's all colored even better because she's got that like very polite Minnesota-y accent. She's got that accent where when they swear, you go, "Are you allowed to do that?" So she was so much fun. I hope you enjoy this one. Let's go chat with Christine DeLozier. I'm so happy. No, I am thrilled. No, I am proud, nay, honored to once again be sponsored by the most powerful vibrator in the game, the Motor Bunny. Sometimes pre-pandemic times, I would sometimes put an ad on Reddit and just be like, "Hey, anyone want to come over and ride the most powerful vibrator of their lives?" And I would get a lot of responses. I'll be honest with you. I forget how I matched up with this woman, but I matched up with a woman who had a friend, and they both had another friend who's swaying with her husband, and all of them were independently curious about the Motor Bunny. So I was just like, "Yo, do y'all want to like come over and just take turns riding it?" And they did. And the husband of one of them came by too. And so like he and I just sat there with a beer chilling while these three chicks fucked each other on my bed, taking turns playing with my Motor Bunny. I'm just telling you, the Motor Bunny is like the center of a party. And you can get $40 off when you use promo code MANWHORE at checkout, or when you visit manwhorepod.com/motorbunny. What are you waiting for? Why are you dilly-dallying? Why are you stalling? You've got that great podcast idea that you've just been dying to do, but you just can't seem to get over the hump to start. Well, look, right now you got to start because you can get up to 2 months of free podcast hosting services with Libsyn. Yeah, Libsyn, that's where I host my podcast. That's where all the big indie greats host their podcasts. They've been in the game since before these things were even called podcasts. So one more time, click the link in the show notes or use promo code Billy, Billy, at Libsyn, Libsyn.com. Now let's get to the show.
I get gifts like that too.
Your sister sent you a vibrator?
Yeah, she's and
Does she work in
my
the sex
kids
world, or
opened it,
just-
of course. What?
Why'd your sister send you a vibrator?
She thought it was good, and she's like, "Oh, your birthday present's coming in the mail." And it's like, of course, my kids intercepted it. They opened it and they're like, "What's that?" And my daughter was like, "Oh, it's a thermometer." And I was like, "It's one of those ear thermometers." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
That's it."
Why not? Just not, and the whole time it's actually a rectal thermometer if you want to go that way. But what'd your sister get you?
It was the Satisfy Pro. She was very pleased with it. She's like, "Oh yeah, you got to try it." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, try it."
Your sister's got good taste.
Yeah.
That's nice. Do you have that type of relationship where you'll talk about the sex? There's a relationship that sisters have that I feel like a brother sister will never don't usually have as much, or at least not.
Oh my God. My cousins are like that. It's like brother and sister. And it's like, don't think about my sister at all, or I will kick your ass. That's the kind of relationship. Like, they don't want to ask, do not ask, do not tell, no talk about that sort of thing. But no, my sister and I, we talk about everything. I mean, everything, and so that's we're only 2 years apart. So it comes with the territory.
And has it always been like that?
Yeah,
it's like a very open family house. So is that the whole family or just you two?
No, just the two of us. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
would just, it was always our little club. You know, we would sit around talking shit about our mom and stuff together. You know, it was like our little thing. You know, we just like, yeah, we had our own little club. Nobody else was kind of invited to that little party. My sister's the type of person, she will say anything that comes out of it to her mind. So, you know, and she'll say it any place, anywhere, you know, in any company. And it's really awesome because she's so fucking funny, you know?
Yeah, but like shitting on mom together, I think that's like a long held pastime. But there are definitely family members who like some are will be like y'all and very open. Some can be very closed off. Like my sisters don't want. I mean, I talk about my sex life for a living, and they unfollow me from Instagram because they just can't. They don't want to hear about it. But amongst each other, they'll talk about the sex stuff. I go like, this is bullshit. Like,
Right.
and also not for nothing. I think if you two want to talk about sex toys with each other, I think I might know about a few more toys that would be. I don't know. I just feel like I'm a beneficial. I just want to be in the club. I want to be in the talking to each other club.
You've got it, yeah, and you could be an insider into the the sex world for them.
Yeah, I bring something to the table.
Right.
Do y'all know about the Motor Bunny? I have a promo code. Do you want? I mean, I can. I was like, I'm the brother who can get you the best free sex toys because I used to call a company and be like, "Yo, can I get a couple freebies?" I don't know. I just want my sisters to love me the way they love each other. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think I've become a little bit too comfortable talking like in my family because I wrote this book and ever since then it's like everything's about sex, like everything. And it's like, and I said something to like, it was like my kids. I said something like, oh, I was going to make some joke. And they're like, yeah, probably some inappropriate sex joke. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. Geez, is it that, have I gotten to that point where it's like family time is just like still, me talking about sex or something? My kids are older. They're like at the age where they're like going through puberty and they're, like learning about stuff, but I think I'm a little bit too relaxed and carefree about what I say and stuff. I mean, I don't talk to them about my own sex life, but
but some do. I don't know. My dad, I was at the dinner with my dad like a week ago, and we're at this restaurant, and then like he says to the bartender, he's like, "Hey, go search the man slut? Go search the man slut show. Is that what it's called?" I'm like, "It's been 8 years, Dad. What's going on?" He's like, "No, that's my son." He's like, he literally flags the bartender and just says, hey, my kid, right? This is my son. Hi, this is Billy Jr. Billy, my son has sex for a living. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, I appreciate the pride, but also what? It's interesting when I think when you talk about sex for a living or talking about sex as part of the brand or the profession, like if it's a subset of what you do, like, yeah, I think family members can get really fucking weird about it if they have their own weird shit around sex. You like become this like lone outlet. Like they won't talk about sex with anyone, but like, oh, good, Christine's here. My cousin Christine, cool. We can talk to her about butt stuff. Great. Like,
right.
It's like, oh, what foods help for prep? And this is appropriate because you do it for work.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like people tell me everything. I mean, everything, and it's cool. I mean, I like it. I'm glad people feel comfortable,
What was like your household like growing up? Like your sister and you have that relationship, but was the house fairly sex positive? Were you two your lone outlets to each other?
My mom had gotten pregnant when she was 14 with my sister. And, she was like 17 by the time she had me. So she was so petrified that we were going to get knocked up that it was like, you don't talk about it. You don't think about it. It's not going to happen. Kissing a boy? What? I mean, are you freaking nuts? That would be like filthy, because she was just afraid, so.
Mm-hmm. So then like, where did you like first start to learn about sex, or did she explain it and say, don't do it?
Oh, no, she didn't explain it. It was the sort of thing we kind of just caught on. Like if we said, oh, I think this boy's cute, or said something about like kissing or something like that. So we talked with each other. And, I grew up like in this city, kind of an urban, neighborhood, and sex is kind of different. I feel like people have sex at a younger age. Lots of my friends did get knocked up as, very early on. and people were having a whole lot of sex. And so we talk about it. I just learned about it from my friends at school and who was doing what, that sort of thing.
By the time you got to college, do you feel like what was your attitude about sex?
Well, I think most women that I grew up with in that kind of, my generation, it's like you didn't want to be a slut because, if you wanted love, you would, you wait to put out. You are like the nice girl and you don't really have sexual needs until like later on. So that was kind of the thing. You wouldn't want a guy to think that you were a slut and, not respect you. So that was kind of the attitude. It wasn't until I became older that I, started kind of coming into my own sexually and articulating what I wanted. Having an orgasm was something I did by myself. Having sex was something I did with a partner.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like your sister got the full breakdown once that.
Oh, my sister was happening. Fucking. My sister was.
Yo, what a quote! My sister was fucking. Love a nice early morning shot to loosen you up. To my sister was fucking. Let me tell you, Christina. But it sounds like I'm assuming she was active before you because she's a few years older. So does she kind of become how you learn about a lot of things?
Oh, she would tell me, she's like, listen, I don't want you to be embarrassed, so I'm just going to lay it out for you. I'm talking about when I was like 12, she's like, this is how you kiss somebody. I don't want you to embarrass yourself. So here, and she just gave me step-by-step instructions how to make out with a guy,
Yeah, she's like, my sister is going to be real good at fucking one day. I'm going to make sure no one's going to talk shit because my sister's going to be the GOAT of fucking in upstate New York. You got to love it. But which again, like I feel again with my sisters, I feel like I'm a good resource if shit is tough. Like anyway, it's fine. That's their thing. But I just feel left out. I have no childhood trauma over getting left out with them. It's fine. Where did your interest in, so were you studying like food first or sex first? Like which came first? And then how does that end up getting mixed in as like one of your focuses?
Okay. So, food's always been kind of a passion of mine. I always loved, just eating, making food, cooking food, photographing food, the aesthetic of food, always been kind of a total foodie. And it's kind of how it is in my family too. Big family, family get-togethers where we have way too much food. Everybody pigs out. Then as an acupuncturist, I started specializing in sexual health because, most acupuncturists, we treat a lot of neck pain, headaches, back pain, things like that. And one of my patients for back pain just asked me one day, oh, do you think you could do anything to help me have stronger erections? And I said, sure, let's give it a whirl. And he had such great results. He was so happy. His wife was happy. And then I had another patient after that. And I just had a series of patients who had really good results. And I just decided, okay, I really want to specialize in this. And, one of the places I had to put a needle was in his perineum. Well, I didn't have to. I wanted to. I said, hey, can I put a needle in your perineum?
I mean, I didn't have to. I could just put it in his arm, but what fun would that be? I think a lot more people would get the booster if they were like, yeah, we're going to stick it in the backside. It's going to feel good.
Well, it's a major crossing point of nerves associated with sexual function. So it's a really good one to use with patients, who want stronger erections. So yeah, that's what I was more nervous about doing was that I was saying, like, would you mind, getting undressed and, having me stick a needle under your testicles, But he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And so I was like, okay. I quickly became very comfortable with that. It's like I've seen several naked guys and needled several, people under their testicles just this morning. It's not even noon yet, Yeah. So
I got like another half dozen balls to inject this afternoon after this. I'm like, oh wow, I would hate to keep you from that. Why is it better to do it under the, because you said you didn't have to, you wanted to, so why do it there versus like the arm, I guess?
Yeah, because of all those nerves, like all those sexual nerves, that's like they go to the penis, they go, they're just all the sex stuff, all the sex nerves are there. So it's a really great way to access all of them. It's a major crossing point of them. So you're like getting all of these different nerve pathways in one shot.
Mm-hmm. And from there you decide like, oh, I think I want to focus more on helping people's sex lives.
Okay, so yeah, so I decided to specialize in sexual health, and then I brought the food in. So I would always ask my patients, what are you eating? And based on my kind of training as a research scientist, I suspected that there was a much bigger relationship between what we're eating and how the sex is than people kind of acknowledge. So what I did was I just wanted to go into the medical literature and nutritional research and just, kind of explore it and see, what it said. So that's where I kind of bridged food and sex. And I kind of thought, I've never seen a book like this. So I wanted to write it. It was kind of a challenge for me. I said, yeah, I wanted to have a resource for my patients because I was always talking to them about, food and nutrition. And I wanted to be able to give them something instead of me just lecturing them for, endlessly every visit,
Yeah. Well, when you started doing like diving more into the research, was there anything you learned about? And I should say that the name of the book is Diet for Great Sex. And when you're looking this stuff up, did you find anything where you went, oh fuck, like something you were like you need to change in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all the sugar I was eating, sugar is something that when your blood sugar spikes, your testosterone dumps, and that's important for males and females. You don't want to be getting busy right after you've had a super sugary meal, but in the long term, you get major shifts in your sex hormones when you're eating a lot of refined sugars. So in the short term, your testosterone drops, and then in the long term, you get these like major, hormonal shifts that aren't ideal for sex. So something like that was surprising. I'm like, yeah, I really got to change that. And just eating more leafy greens. I mean, that was a huge one. I was looking at, I'm always curious to see what, monkeys and like primates eat because I feel like humans, we don't know what the fuck to eat. You know what I mean? We're so lost. We don't have instincts for food anymore. An animal goes out and they eat what they're supposed to eat. They know what to eat for great sex. We like, oh, what should I eat? We go around asking each other and nobody knows what the hell they're talking about, so if you look at other primates, though, they sit around eating tons of leaves. They sit around eating leaves all day long. And in doing so, they get many times the amount of potassium, magnesium, and many minerals and all these phytonutrients that are great for sex. One of the really important ones is potassium. And humans, we used to take in about 10 times as much potassium as sodium in our diets. Now it's just the opposite. We take in it because we eat so much processed foods. We take in about 10 times as much sodium as potassium. And what that does is it wreaks havoc on those tiny little blood vessels leading to the clitoris, the vagina, and the penis. And, so eating leaves really helps to offset the damage of the salt, and it just helps to improve our blood vessels and therefore bring more blood to where we want it.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, more blood flow for penises, you got more like firmer erections, and just in general, like the more blood flow going on, the more pleasure happens, right?
Yeah, it's like your clitoris will be more sensitive if there's more blood flowing to it. You'll have better lubrication, stronger erections, things like that. And then, of course, leaves, they affect the whole trifecta of great sex. Like, if you think about sex as a psychological phenomenon, we're missing some of the other parts of it. I mean, physiologically, great sex is when you have strong, fast nerve conduction to and from your genitals. It's when your sex hormones are balanced. That's
what I think about when I think about great sex. I think, strong nerve conduction.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what most people think, right? I mean, is strong nerve conduction. I mean, when I'm getting busy, that's definitely on my mind. But leaves actually even help balance your sex hormones. Like, we're stressed out, super stressed out. So our cortisol levels are like through the roof, and that dumps testosterone too. But like leaves even reduce reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, so that it balances testosterone. It actually makes you have better testosterone levels.
So the vegans are happier, because I feel like if I were a vegan, I'd be miserable. So it's hard for me to.
Meat's not all bad. I mean, zinc is a huge player in sexual health. You have more zinc. Sometimes I even recommend my patients supplementing with zinc. zinc is a huge one. I mean, think about oysters. Oysters, you eat one oyster and it's got about 50% of your daily zinc. And that's probably why they get their reputation as an aphrodisiac, because it's such a huge player. And meat has a very bioavailable source of zinc, whereas like if you're eating beans and legumes as your protein, you're basically, unless you sprout them or soak them, the zinc isn't actually absorbable by your body.
Mm-hmm. But you say that you doing the research for the book, and you find out a few things that you go, oh, I could change this in my day to day. But a lot of things you're probably sharing, and a lot of things that are probably great for sex are probably just also great for the body. So it's like, why was great for the body not the motivation? Like, why does it have to come down to, hey, you want to live longer? Don't really care. You want to fuck? Oh, I'm listening. Like, it's a marketing to eat better foods. It's all about the marketing of those better foods.
It's like, it basically, the whole book talks about what the effect is on sex. Like, some people don't give a shit about, they're not going to be running. They're not going to be working out. They're not going to be eating well. And, don't really care one way or the other, but they do want to have better erections. So this is how the food affects that. And that's what it focuses on. It doesn't mean that it's like, oh, well, I got to choose whether I eat a diet for good sex or a diet for health. Which do I want? Do I want health or do I want good sex? They're like, they're like the same. They are the same, but it's just, this is telling you what it's actually doing to, your penis, vagina, and, how it's affecting you in the bedroom.
Right. Like, someone's like feeling a little sick. They don't go to the doctor, but if they have like one little dot somewhere in the genital region, losing their fucking mind. Right. So they go, like, it's just like, what a fucking base level creature we have become, where it's just like, yeah, to take care of ourselves, fuck it. But so, is this a rash? Is this a thing? Do I have to tell somebody about the thing? My heart, I don't give a fuck. Like it's just
right.
crazy to me. But even you say like, you learn this stuff and that's when it changed. And was that an easy change to make for you? Whatever change in your diet and lowering the sugars?
I still work at it, honestly. I just don't want to ever get to the point where I'm so obsessed with what I'm eating that I stop eating for pleasure. Food is meant to be pleasurable. Our bodies release dopamine, and it's a pleasure chemical when we eat. So to take that away and, be obsessed with dieting isn't gonna, make you a happier person. But just simple things like for you, for example, you said, okay, I'm not into like changing my diet, and, and I'm sorry, but I'm telling everybody, you had M&Ms and you had chips on your counter right behind you, and you were trying to hide them from everybody. I'm throwing you under the bus right now. But start with one meal, say, because for example, potassium is huge. I have a whole section on potassium. So change your lunch. You can still have a nice dinner, have a nice breakfast that maybe is stuff that's not maybe as healthy. But if you try to incorporate a salad and maybe a baked yam or something for your lunch, it's pretty filling, and you're going to get about half of all the potassium needed just from that one meal. And then you can make up the rest of it other places, and you're going to be getting a lot of magnesium, which is great for sex. You're going to be getting a lot of zinc. You're going to be getting all the stuff that leaves bring. There's a whole section on leaves too, and just how important they are, like we talked about. So that's one meal a day. It's not a huge lifestyle change, and it'll bring tons to the table for sex.
Mm-hmm. And then when we hear that word diet, there's definitely the association about like, oh, it's for weight loss. And, sometimes it's for the overall health, but we've already established we're dumb pleasure monkeys who don't care about that. But sometimes people will go like, oh, well, I want to lose weight, whether they want to feel more attractive or, obesity can, my understanding, like lower libido and stuff. Okay, fair. But, your book and what you're talking about has nothing to do with weight, right?
Right. No, absolutely nothing to do with weight. It's got to do with balancing sex hormones, blood flow, nerves, all those aphrodisiac terms that we talked about.
Wow. What are some of the more important chemical situations besides blood flow that are important for like healthy sex? And, what are there any other like what kind of foods like really boost those in particular?
Oh, well, that's what the whole book is about. Like foods that basically, that's the trifecta. The whole entire book talks about When we have good sex, we have those three working. So the whole book talks about foods that are good for those three. Besides things like, reducing your sugar intake, improving your leafy greens, getting B vitamins, for example, is really important. All the B vitamins are really associated with your nerve function. So just think about it. Okay, what is pleasure? Pleasure is a signal from your dick to your spine to your brain and back again. Okay, that's what pleasure is. Okay. And when that's a strong signal, you get more pleasure. When it's a weak signal, you get less pleasure. And your body responds with less blood flow and everything, kind of gets out of whack. More difficulty, having an orgasm, things like that. Antioxidants are a huge one because, especially for my female patients, the biggest complaint is difficulty achieving orgasm and low libido, I would say. And the more that you can strengthen those nerve pathways, the better orgasms you'll have and the easier orgasms you'll have. So antioxidants are a big one because all that nerve damage that slows down, those signals comes from oxidative stress. It's like how life damages our nerves. It causes, so antioxidants basically offset that and then help those nerves. So for example, like type 2 diabetics have a real big problem with that. Their nerves get really slower and weaker. And so what they did is they supplemented with antioxidants in this one study, for example, and then actually measured how strong and fast their nerve impulses were. And they were better. And they did another study where they supplemented with antioxidants and then asked them how sex was, and they found that they were having easier orgasms. They were having just overall general better sexual satisfaction.
Is it a factor when someone comes in and saying they're having trouble getting achieving orgasms? I mean, are they talking about solo by themselves or with partners? And if they're talking about partnered, does it get weird when you have to be like, maybe he's just not that, or whoever it is, like that they're not that good in bed? Like, do you ever have to bring that up with somebody?
I do bring that up with them. And sometimes it can be an uncomfortable. I had that conversation today, as a matter of fact, with a female client of mine who was saying, well, I can have an orgasm when I'm by myself, but not with my husband. And, I used to be able to, but now it's just, she's different now. Her body is different. She's, her hormones are different and whatnot. So so she actually bought my book and I told her to read the last chapter, which has a detailed tutorial on oral sex. Because you got to get some skills, and it's like, it might be easy, getting off like a 20-year-old maybe. Although, quite honestly, I didn't really have orgasms with partners when I was 20 at all. So, I mean, I didn't know what to tell them to do. They didn't know what to do. And, it was just a major miscommunication. But yeah, I mean, you have to have a dedicated partner who actually wants to learn about your body. And it can't be this sort of thing where it's like, oh yeah, this worked on my last girlfriend, so I've got, then they think like, yeah, I'm really skilled. It's like, you got to learn what she likes, some people like,
you got to start pressure. Right back over.
Exactly. Square one.
Comes to vulvas, be like, this trick doesn't work. The audible doesn't work. My backup plan doesn't work. All right, let's have a conversation. What do you like? I've tried my usual tricks.
I was having a conversation with one of my patients, female patients, yesterday, and she was telling me how she's been with this guy for like 2 years, and he doesn't go down on her, and it took her so much. She had to muster up so much to have a conversation with him about it. Of course, based on my, encouraging her to do that. And finally, she said, why don't you go down on me? And he was like, well, I just thought things were so great already. I didn't just see the need,
It was going great for me. I was coming and I didn't have to go down on you. So why would I go do more work?
Well, it's like
they're reading too much Tim Ferriss. They're like, it's the 80-20 rule or whatever that is.
What's the 80-20 rule?
Or there's some sort of rule about like, it's something about like putting in the minimal amount of effort to get the maximum amount of like reward.
Well, I thought you were talking about like the 75-25, which is like 75% of women can't come just from penetration. 25% can. So that leaves
Tim
a whole
Ferriss
lot of women.
isn't covering that very much, unfortunately.
Yeah, we could ask him to. But then the thing about it is, though, he said to her, he's like, okay, well, you know what? Whenever you want it, whenever you want me to go down on you, you just tell me.
Oh,
She's like, oh Jesus, I don't want to have to tell you. I don't want to have to ask for it. And it's like all of those, the internalized messages about our pussy come into play there. You know, it's like, oh, does he think it smells okay? Does he like the aesthetic of it? Is he grossed out? You know, is he just doing this out of obligation? You know, all these different things come into play. And no, you just don't want to ask for it. You want somebody who's like, oh, I like eating pussy. You know, that's the better attitude, you know?
and even if one does not like eating pussy, you do it and you act like you do, like at a bare minimum, right? Like,
Right.
I don't believe everyone loves giving blowjobs, but even if you're gonna give it, you enthusiastic, you make it seem like you're, and then like, because nobody wants to see someone like sob their way through oral sex. That's no fun. If it is fun for you, you've got some sadism you got to look at in your life. Well, I don't know. Like it's got to suck to have to, like, I want to just ask me every time. I would just be like, it's every time.
Right.
This is a long-standing ask of every time. Make an effort. I mean, was that, like when did you feel comfortable, like just straight up kind of asking for what you need, how you need it, when you need it?
I was married for 10 years, and so the bar was at a certain level. And then when I got divorced and started having more sex with people who were older, and I was like, okay, I realized, wow, there are people out there who can eat pussy, make me come every single time. I mean, I have somebody, I actually wrote about them in my book. I call him, in a fun way, Mr. Pussy.
You call him Mr. Pussy?
I just, fondly refer to him as Mr. Pussy.
I love that. That's better than what my mom said. My mom refers to her so my mom has a Mr. Pussy, but she refers to him as Mr. 6'5". Just, when I used to date Mr. 6'5", I was like, okay.
She tells you about how he knew how to eat pussy.
She didn't, you know what? It's like she's never said he knew how to eat pussy, but the way she talked about him, I assume the man knew what he was doing.
Well, okay, most of us have experiences with somebody who's like, my jaw's hurting, my jaw's hurting, or some kind of complaint that
shut the fuck up and play like a champion. What are you?
I'm like, grow up. Does anybody like? I mean, So then when this guy was like, oh yeah, sure, again tonight, like he would just eat pussy once till I came, do it twice till I came, do it 3 times. Like I was like, okay, here's the new standard. This is the standard. So, so that's when I felt more comfortable saying it's you, not me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, this should be expected of you. I don't know. I mean, I feel like then there's people who are like, oh, well, I just don't like it. My first, relationship, I'm sensitive to smells. I'm sensitive to smells. Oh, okay. Well, you can get a blowjob, no problem, but not reciprocate. And I somehow went along with this because of that internalized message about tuna, and women's coochies smelling like tuna and everything. It's like, and you wash and you do all these things, but you still have this fear that, you're not pleasing your partner. And, the thing about it is nobody likes a gorgonzola the first time they try it. They don't like a finely aged wine. I mean, you cultivate an appreciation for it and you associate it with sex. I mean, a pussy smells like a pussy. It doesn't, even if no matter how clean you are, there's a biological thing going on there. That's what a pussy smells like. Just like a dick has a biological odor, even
did that guy think that his balls were a fucking bouquet of flowers?
Apparently. Well, we didn't have good sex, but I didn't know we didn't have good sex because, I mean, it was one position. Oh, all the other ones are uncomfortable for me, so it was one position, pretty much played by, his standard and, and I thought it was somehow in the realm of normalcy.
I mean, so, even within the marriage where you had a tough time asking for what you wanted, or
That
did
was
you
my
know
first
that?
relationship. That was my first relationship, not my marriage that I was referring to. My marriage, it was like, it was good enough. Like, he knew how to, I don't want to talk, about my ex-husband because if,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Just like, we have kids together and stuff.
Yeah.
But, it was like, it was adequate. But I just, when I got a divorce, I realized what all the possibilities, like what was actually possible, just totally broadened my world, mind blown,
Yeah. And I don't need to hear like about like how your ex-husband was, but rather I'm really more curious about especially women, maybe anyone in long-term relationships or marriages, but particularly women because we know why. But like why, like the inhibition to ask for what you want seems to be really strong there, especially when it's something as foundational as a marriage. And so I'm
right.
more curious about like just like about not regardless of the quality of anything going on, but rather like what your relationship was to not asking, and then when you saw what the world was like, did part of you go like, wait, why didn't I ask for any of this then? Like this could have been improved if I I could have just asked.
This is the thing. This is a big psychological thing, and there's so many roots. There's cultural roots, historical roots, roots in just feminist or sexism and whatnot. But a lot of it has to do with just pleasing our partners and that sort of thing. And a lot of women say, okay, well, my husband or my partner doesn't know how to eat pussy, yet they will feel bad if I don't give them some kind of indication that I'm satisfied. So they want to be considered and feel like good lovers without actually putting the work in to learn how to do it, Lots of people I meet, they think they have great skills because they looked online once or something, or they asked one of their buddies how to eat pussy, and then all of a sudden they, feel like they've put their time in, But, and then the other thing is, again, just like all of our feelings about genitals, like the difference between men, like male genitals and female genitals, and how, our associations with it. You see so much out there that kind of puts down female genitalia, that I think we get it really ingrained. And I've like, okay, I have one friend, for example, she's been with somebody for like 20 years and she's still only goes and jerks off to have an orgasm. Okay. Instead of asking her partner, she has sex with her partner and then goes and jerks off to get off. And she fakes orgasms, because she says, well, you know what? I've been doing it for so long at this point. I'm not going to have an orgasm. And then we worry that like, oh, well, they're not going to want to sit around waiting for me to have an orgasm. I mean, on average, a male can have an orgasm in under 10 minutes, whereas a female, by the, including the time it takes to get aroused, to build up libido, to get super excited, have an orgasm, it could be 45 minutes. For some, it's not. I mean, it could be a half an hour. It could be 45 minutes. It could be more.
Us
It
under
depends.
10 minutes because we're still number one. Still number one. It's tough. And so how do you talk to your kids about sex?
Well, I just, I kind of wait for their initiative usually. I mean, I've had the conversations like, this is sex, this is reproduction. But like my son, and I could tell it, he wasn't sure if he wanted to ask me. He's 13. He said, how do girls masturbate? Because he didn't understand, like, because, guys have a dick and they just do that. Like, well, what the hell do girls do? They don't like have, they don't have anything to do down there,
Nothing to do. Oh my, so much. There are sections, there's parks, there's a little rest stop area. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Yeah, it's like going playing with a pussy. It's like going to the Met. You could spend hours there all day and still not see the whole thing.
Everything. Well, I told him that. So that's when I got out my anatomical diagrams that I looked up online, and I brought all the kids around. I have 3 little ones, so I showed everyone, like, oh, might as well make this an educational session. I showed them an anatomical, diagram of the female anatomy. and told him, and they all regretted having asked. So
I mean, but they know what you talk about for, one of the things that you talk about for work. It's just, I don't know. It's somebody's brought up the idea that like, whether it will be Gen Z or the generation just below that, like your kids' age, if they're not in that, the idea of that because we have become more sex positive and sexually liberated, will we accidentally raise like a more prudent, embarrassed by sex generation where they're like, sex is not a big deal, but we don't like talking about it because like mom was always talking about her orgies, so it just like felt weird because like she was too liberated, like kind of like how we got the Reagan era 80s or whatever that was.
See, I kind of suspect that it wouldn't be that, it wouldn't be somebody having a sex positive attitude. It would more be how much we rely on social media and the internet for our socialization, where people aren't connecting physically. People are embarrassed by everything. My kids won't call somebody on the phone, or not all of them. Sometimes they will, but my daughter, well, that's weird to call them. I'd rather text, like, so having a conversation with somebody, we don't develop the skills that we need because we spend so much time communicating, via internet and, social media and stuff. And I feel like people are in general, that's trending towards a huge segment of the population just having less sex in general due to discomfort with other human beings,
Mm-hmm. Especially because good sex requires the whole talking.
Yeah, you got to have some game. You got to make conversation. It's not. So yeah, it's like it can be awkward. You have to get past all those social, that social awkwardness in order to connect with one another, and we're not forced to because we have this crutch.
And what's the age range of your kids?
Oh, so I have a 10-year-old, 12, and 13, and then I have an older daughter who's 26.
Gotcha. And I know I have a lot of parents who listen to the show, and definitely a common question is like, what is age appropriate and when to talk about what? Especially when you have the complication of the internet where they may have been introduced to a lot of shit that they don't have explained yet. And you might have been like, I was going to talk to you about gangbangs at 17, but it seems like you are 13. You already know about these. So I guess I got to, speed that up. So how have you been navigating all of that over the last several years?
Yeah, just based on, if I think of something, I tell them about it. I'm pretty open with the kids, I'm pretty open about everything. So except for like, I don't know. I feel like, again, I don't want to, except for like some aspects of porn, because I just feel like porn is really destructive to human contact sexuality in many ways, because it, just all the things that we learn, that's becoming more public now. It's like some people look at porn, they got like their cell phone out while they're fucking somebody to get off. Like they can't get off without watching the porn and stuff like that. So I've been really protective with them about, kind of exploring that, at least conversationally, if that makes sense, just because, I don't know, so many early childhood experiences surrounding sex really rewire kids, or not rewire, they wire kids' brains sexually. So people look back, and a lot of times their whole sexual tastes and preferences and situations that turn them on are based on shit that happened in their childhood, or sexuality that they were exposed to in their childhood. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you say very open, but you're cautious about the porn talk.
Yeah, I don't want to really encourage that. Some people, I know some parents are just like, okay, that's normal. Watching porn is normal. So, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's, porn used to be something like, guys would pass around a picture of like a, scantily clad, woman or something, or,
like everyone came on the same copy of Playboy.
Yeah, exactly. It was like,
those two pages sticking together, that was Jim.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just, sex was a different kind of thing. I mean, you could still relish the excitement of, having somebody in person without that dependence on that. I don't know. It's like when you make everything Hollywood and it's like, you've got the best lighting, you've got the flawless, people who are flawless, having sex, it's like that's what you associate with sexuality.
Yeah.
Not like real people who've got like some flab or they got some stretch marks or just, their dick isn't, 12 inches long and, 2 feet wide. I mean,
Which we don't even teach the boys. Hey, the camera does amazing things with angles. Like there are a lot more 6-inch dicks in porn that you'd have no idea.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
But what do you think about I've heard this like school of thought where there's some parents who they will go find like a good, what they personally think is a good, appropriate, fair, somewhat more realistic porn site, right? Where, whether it's like a Trench Coat X or something from like Erica Lust, or, they'll find a porn site they are comfortable with their kids maybe exploring, and then they get them a membership to that site. But like, so you can watch porn, but this is the site you watch stuff at, because they don't think it's giving incredibly unrealistic and dangerous ideas about what sex is.
That's an interesting approach, because it's like, obviously what I would like for, particularly my sons, is for them to develop the type of sexuality where, real women turn them on sexually. I mean, not that I want to really think about my kids, that my 10-year-old, like that right now, but
they're not your sister. You're not gonna be like, yo, my sons, they fucking like.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to think about my sons fucking, but my sister be fucking.
Exactly. Well, I mean, yeah. So that's the thing, is it's like, okay, well, what about just like looking at the, the girl in math class, and it's like, I mean, isn't that going to be a turn on? Aren't they going to go home and jerk off to that? You know what I mean? Like that's jerk off worthy in the real world. You know what I'm saying? People don't really need porn to explore their sexuality. And the more you watch, the more you're exposed to, the more that becomes part of, your sexuality. But so I guess it's a kind of a toss up, because it's like, okay, well, if I don't gear them towards any porn, are they going to just be watching it anyways and just looking at the really nasty stuff, that's like, that's really going to kind of distort their like sense of reality and what's, reasonable expectations and stuff? Or do I, expose them to something that's like a lot more, normalized? So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question.
I have two other questions that I'm definitely curious about. One is the thing that I get very angsty about when it comes to sex and food, and it is the butt things. Gosh, I would love to like know some cheat codes on how to like get ready. Like I did, like if I know I'm gonna on Wednesday do something with someone with my butt, I'd really like to like feel emptier and cleaner beyond, oh, don't eat a bunch of junk food right before. But like, I guess the two parts are, are there foods that are best for the backdoor health and cleanliness? And then two is, what's the like lead time on eating and the digestive system? So you're probably fairly clean and maybe need a very slight douche.
Okay, so different foods have different processing time. The quickest transit time are fruits. The longest transit time are like pork, things like that. And even different meats have different transit times. So it's like pork's like the longest, then beef, then chicken, then fish is quicker, and of course vegetables. So it's like this is the continuum. You have over here, you have fruit, then vegetables, then fish, then chicken, then beef, then pork. Okay.
And how long are we talking? Like,
it depends on the person. Some people have a 24-hour transit time, generally speaking, for meals. One into
You're
the
running
next.
the MTA over there.
But then other ones have, it depends entirely on the person. Some people just have a quicker metabolism, of food. So you kind of have to figure out what you are.
So like maybe half a day to a day and a half kind of a range.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm just like, ooh, I want to eat this thing. And I'm like, is it far enough away from a butt thing to to
Right.
do this now, or am I just taking the risk? That's the calculation that goes in
No,
my
it's
mind.
always a risk. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And there's also, if you want to do, would you care to explain? I'm familiar with the concept of there's like kind of the chambers. So there's like there's some loading situations going on. It's not like when it gets back there, it's just back there. Do you want to explain like how that rectum situation works?
Well, yeah, I mean, so you basically have, yeah, you have different segments of the digestive tract. I mean, the food goes from your mouth, your esophagus, to your stomach, to your, small intestines, then your large intestines, then your colon. And then, for some people, and the thing is, it differs according to person too. Some people have it sits there for a lot longer than other people. So they may have like drier stool. Other people have looser stool because it hasn't been there long enough for all that extra water to be absorbed into the intestines. So, um, as far as different chambers, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking just the different segments of the intestines. They're
I was thinking like, well, the idea of like when you need to poop, it's like right there, but there might be like feces kind of in like a chamber, be like a chamber of secrets behind the thing.
yeah.
So it's not there. So like so you could have like poop back there, but if someone were to put some fingers up there, they might not actually reach that poop,
Yeah, if you're putting
right?
fingers up there, you're definitely not going to be reaching the small intestines. You're going to be reaching. It's going to be in like the sigmoid colon, and then it's not going to be for far enough for that. But again, food spends like up to a day just in traveling along the intestines. So
And what are the better foods for that backdoor health?
for backdoor health, oh, that's a good question. Definitely leaves. Leaves are good for everything because leaves, first of all, they bring more blood flow. So, if you're thinking like tissue repair, if you're having some backdoor action, you want to kind of have tissues that are kind of elastic without damaging and that have a good, efficient repair of those tissues. And that means good blood flow, for example, and so the leaves are great for that. Leaves are probably the best thing you can put in your body for your your blood vessels and delivering blood flow because they improve the elasticity of those blood vessels. They bring more blood flow. They just overall promote vascular health and health of your cells as well.
And then you're also an acupuncturist. And are there any sexual benefits to acupuncture?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, so when I put a needle, for example, I mean, I put needles in people according to their constitution. So two people may come in for sexual health, and I may put needles in completely different places because one person is presenting with what we call, say, chi and blood deficiency, and another one may be presenting with chi stagnation, for example. So the needles go different places, but I might definitely put that in the perineum, like we talked about. But what happens when we actually put a needle in there? When I put a needle in the perineum, for example, the first thing you get is an increase in blood flow. Any place I put a needle, you get an immediate increase in blood flow. The second thing is I stimulate a certain nerve pathway. So the key thing here is that every single substance produced by the body, every hormone, every neurotransmitter, is ultimately controlled by the nervous system. So when we stimulate a nerve pathway, we affect change in the body chemistry. And we're talking about things like sex hormones for sure, even things like dopamine, serotonin, histamine, all those things. Depending on where we're putting the needles, we're affecting change, chemically in the body. So that's why it's good for sex is because we see changes in things like testosterone and estrogen, and also we strengthen that nerve pathway and that nerve conduction, in that particular area. So and increasing blood flow. So it does all three of those.
Do you need to do the acupuncture like regularly to see those benefits?
Well, acupuncture, kind of moves people more toward balance, and life kind of unbalances us. So it depends. Most of my patients. So, for example, if I have a regular patient, if they skip a week, they might notice that their treatment results decline. For example, so for some people, yes. For some people, it's just permanent. So, for example, I recently treated somebody who he had been having sex And all of a sudden, he just felt something weird happen in his testicles. And then he had been having some, like his erections weren't as firm since then, and he was having some pain. I treated him like 6 times, and his situation completely improved, and he didn't need any further treatment. For example.
And is that just you like tapping a spot enough times that it fixed whatever was going on in his testicle? Like,
It's
that's
like
wild.
injury. There was some. He had been basically really rough with his girlfriend. They were having really rough sex, and he just felt something. He just twisted something. So, like any kind of injury, acupuncture just helps speed recovery because just increasing blood flow is good for it, and then again, it kind of stimulates the body's healing response. So, just like for example, if you were to cut your finger, your body detects tissue damage and it directs the appropriate agents to repair those tissues. When I put a needle in the body, we actually cause a little bit of tissue damage in doing so, and it's going not just on the skin. I mean, people don't realize how far in we go with the needles. In the underneath the testicles, I might.
Are you going deeper than a tattoo needle?
Oh yeah, I might go in like. Wait, can you see? Where's my camera here? Oh, there we go. I might go in like that far into the perineum. In the hips, I have
into
a video
the perineum.
on
You go that deep?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's for some people that's deeper than the finger they get in the butt sometimes. I mean, that's a deep needle.
I use for the perineum. Let me see. I got one right over here. So I
was thinking to myself, oh, maybe I'll try that sometime. And then you just went like, that was deep.
Yeah, I use this needle. I don't know if you can see it. It's
okay. So I first saw the bottom part that's a little thicker. You see that little short part at the bottom.
No, that's
I was like,
handle.
oh, that's manageable. Now I can see the thin, long motherfucker. Oh my.
Yeah. So like that's. Wait a minute. There we go.
What?
You see it?
What
in
does it go
comparison to my finger?
into? That
it goes,
deep
again,
in
right
there?
under the testicles. Or
is it getting
between the
into
vagina
the?
and anus.
When you do go through the perineum, is it hitting the testicles? Going that deep?
No, it doesn't hit the testicles at all. That's why you go into that particular area. It's just getting very close to that bundle of nerves that crosses there. Wow. That's it. And we go a little further in, and what that does is it stimulates all those nerve pathways, but it also kind of stimulates the body's healing response too. So in the case with that patient who had some kind of tissue damage with that rough sex, it just is encouraging blood flow and encouraging tissue repair.
That's wild because like what else, if you didn't come in for acupuncture, I can't like what, if you went to like a regular kind of Western medicine doctor, what would the doc say? Be like, what would they, like, I don't even know what else you would try.
Yeah, he had already been to a urologist, and he hadn't had great results, from that. So that's why he came to me. Yeah. But yeah, it was just like, okay, well, just, let it rest, let it, let your body heal, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And that didn't help. But it's like, yeah, let's get that big fucking needle in the gooch and see how that works. That's amazing. Do you ever I know, perineum is very close to everything, but is there acupuncture that one would do on genitals?
No, I've never done acupuncture on the actual genitals.
I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Look, sounding freaks me out. The medical play people, they do their thing, but just, the thought of needles in any of that stuff.
Yeah. No, I do put one below the tailbone though. So in between the anus and the coccyx, I will put one there.
Christine, thank you so much for chatting with us and for telling some more about Diet for Great Sex. And if people they want to get the book, if they want to follow you, where can they go find you?
So I'm on Instagram I've got some recipe videos and things like that on Instagram and TikTok at Diet for Great Sex. I have a blog, which is dietforgreatsex.com, and you can buy my book on Amazon.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for making the time to chat, and tell your sister she's got great taste. Satisfier is a good toy, and I love that. Thank you again, and why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I had a lot of fun.
Look, I'm eating the fucking green beans, okay? I ate 3 apples last week, and I just feel like that's an accomplishment over here. We're all about growth and change on the show, but let's not go too fast, all right? So, hands off my plate. I'm trying I just want my cum to not taste gross. Hi, I hope you enjoyed my conversation this week with Christine DeLozier. Definitely pick up her book, Diet for Great Sex. You'll pick up some very useful tips and tricks over there. Again, this isn't about weight loss. This is just about feeling good enough so you can fuck good enough. We would love to know what you thought about this week's episode in the episode discussion channel in our Discord server, The Champagne Room. Introduce yourself today at manwhorepod.com/Discord. This was really funny. Last week, 3 different men named Joe on OnlyFans bought me jock straps in a variety of colors and styles. Holy shit, I gotta say, I look amazing in a jock strap. The gays were right. What was taking me so long? Oh my. If you want to check out those hot photos, or maybe you want to, buy me something pretty yourself, go follow my free OnlyFans at onlyfans.com/callmebilly. You can always email me directly at manwhorepod@gmail.com. Enjoy your Christmases this weekend, everybody. If that's what you celebrate, enjoy your Chinese food day. If you don't, think twice about the Spider-Man. Hey, I want to see it too, but I think that's the real super spreader. I think that's what it's going to be. Have you seen the box office numbers? Out of this world. Look, just try to make some smarter decisions. Some less selfish decisions, and in the most responsible way possible, stay slutty. It's the vibrator that has no equal. And now, Motor Bunny offers their thrusting sex machine, the Motor Bunny Buck. Enjoy a fan whore discount at manwhorepod.com/motorbunny or use promo code manwhore at checkout.